Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I came across an article that absolutely backs up the point that I've been making for the past, month or so. I've been rather harsh on Sanders. And I've been rather harsh on Sanders for a very particular reason. I don't believe that the Democratic Party has changed. Now, if I'm right, and the party hasn't changed, and yet Sanders is going from state to state to get people back into a party that hasn't changed, what does that make Sanders? That makes Sanders a sheep herder. Now, you can say that's harsh, you can say that's unfair, that's brutal. I'm just being objective. He's not a Democrat. He's supposed to be an independent, a socialist at that. And yet, he's made some agreement where he's going to be running across the country with Tom Perez and other Democrats in order to con 15 million people back into the party. Now, the reason I use the term con on this front, it's almost like they're using progressivism as bait. It's almost like they're just throwing it out into the public. Healthcare, oh my God, that's awesome. Schools or college, paid for college. Holy shit, that's awesome. I love that. We're going to do something about income inequality and wages. Oh, I love that. It's like they're rubbing themselves in Sanders. And then they can just wheel those people back into the party. Now, those 15 million people that left the party did so for good reasons. They understood that the party wasn't representing their interests. And so they left. Nothing has substantively changed since then. So if Sanders is going to try to pull those people back into the party, he's doing so using his leverage and using his own credibility to lend some kind of light or some kind of impression of this party that doesn't actually exist. This story came out, I think it came out in March. It's from The Observer. Desperate Democrats allow Clinton think tank to ruin 2020 prospects. The Democratic establishment has preserved its political power by providing the Center for American Progress, a think tank founded by Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta and run by Clinton surrogate Neera Tanden, with access and leverage over the party's opposition to Trump. Now, don't let that word opposition fool you. That's not singular. It's not just what are we going to do to fight Trump? It's also what propaganda are we going to use to get Democrats back in office? That's not a singular thing. That's more well-rounded than just opposition. On March 8th, Politico reported that CAP will host an event to vet their preferred presidential nominees for the 2020 elections. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, Cory Booker of New Jersey, Kamala Harris of California, Chris Murphy of Connecticut, Kristen Gillibrand of New York, Montana Governor Steve Bullock, Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti are all confirmed to attend, and more are expected to be added to the event scheduled for May 16th. This list provides further evidence that the Democratic Party will continue to forcefully push donors, preferred candidates, over progressive candidates who can make meaningful connections with voters. And that is true. The point I'm making to you is, if the Democratic Party full well understands that the public sees them as being without credibility, the public dislikes them, their percentage is like 30%, their rating. They also understand that Sanders is the most popular senator in this country. They full well get that. They understand it. Sanders wouldn't be on all these news shows, and he wouldn't be in all these interviews and town halls. None of that stuff would be the case if the Democratic Party believed that he wasn't an asset. Because that's true, he's going to be on one stage after the other. Now tell me, most people don't really pay attention to politics. They don't. We may follow politics, but most people see a candidate, they hear soundbite, that's it. Now, with Sanders, they're going to see what's coming out of his mouth or hear what's coming out of his mouth. They're going to see him on stage, waving his arms, losing it, doing his thing. Healthcare, education, higher wages. They're going to see him do his thing, his shtick. He's going to be standing beside Cory Booker. He's going to be standing beside Chuck Schumer. He's going to be standing beside Nancy Pelosi. He's going to be standing beside Joe Manchin, whoever these guys are, whatever random Democrat that's going to be on stage with them. Now, the person who's not fully paying attention to politics, but know who Sanders is that person going to be able to make a distinction between Cory Booker and Bernie Sanders? Are they going to know that there is a difference in the quantities between those two people? Yes, they're going to hear Sanders get out there and do his thing. Now, what they hear from the other Democrats are probably going to be platitudes and all this other stuff. But what I'm getting at is, because Sanders is there and he has a certain amount of credibility, he is lending his credibility, his light, his shine of sorts, onto whoever he's standing beside, the person that he's touching, the person that he's rubbing elbows with. He's leaving an impression with the person who's seeing him do this. Now, do you believe that the Democratic Party and Sanders' platform are the same? I don't. In fact, even Donna Brazile admitted it. She said, well, we Democrats weren't really talking about these things before Sanders got into the mix. I agree. Because there's a difference in those quantities. The fact that Sanders is on stage doing that, doing his shtick, the fact that he's doing that with a Democrat beside him, makes it look as if that Democrat is similar to Sanders. That Democrat is not similar to Sanders. That Democrat is nothing like Sanders. It's nothing like Sanders. That is literally a trick. So we're essentially compounding the fact that they cheated the guy. We're compounding the fact that they cheated and defrauded millions of people. We're compounding the fact that Donald Trump is in that office based upon the behavior and the actions that Democrats have taken over the last 8 years, particularly in that primary. We're compounding that with giving across optics or an impression that's not true in actual reality, but it is being used to try to get people back into the party, just reeling them back in. And if I'm wrong on this, explain to me why Tom Perez is DNC chair. If I'm wrong on this, because my contention has been, this is optics. This is just politics. They're leveraging Sanders, leveraging his credibility in order to add some level of shine and credibility to a party that has zero, that has none. That party it's never had this point of saying, hey, yeah, we shouldn't have cheated that guy. They don't even admit that they've cheated the guy. They don't even admit that the last 8 years was a failure. Ultimately, when they lost that election, they turned around and pivoted immediately to Russia. That's not why they lost. Russia is not true. They're fomenting, literally, a war with a nuclear power nation. That's one big red flag in and of itself. They're doing that for political expedience, not because it actually happened. They don't want to talk about what took place in the primaries, which means that Sanders, towing this line about Russia in a weird and ridiculous way, is essentially giving cover to the fact that they cheated the guy in the primaries. Now, with all of this, he turns around and still tries to help pull people back into that party that in no way had a come to Jesus moment about why they lost, in no way admitted that they cheated him, and in no way has shown any intention that they're going to change. Tom Perez is DNC chair. Keith Ellison was supposed to be DNC chair. Keith Ellison was running almost unopposed. And at the last minute, Keith Ellison was tackled at the 4-yard line because the losers of the party, the establishment, the corporatists, called out to try to get somebody else to get into the race because they didn't want Ellison to take that spot. If this party was different, if this party had changed, if this party full well understands that progressives are popular, which it does, and if this party really wanted to go in that direction, when the most clear and obvious signal would have been to not have Perez jump into the race in order to tackle Ellison at the last minute. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed at all. I'll leave this here. Look, among this list, the only person who you can really make an argument about as being somewhat progressive is Elizabeth Warren. At least that's the strongest case. Some of these people are absurd. Cory Booker Cory Booker is the guy who took $300,000 and tried to gut the bill to lower prescription drug costs. The other one, Montana Governor Steve Bullock, was supporting DAPL, Dakota Access Pipeline. Kristen Gillibrand is essentially Hillary Clinton light. They didn't like Hillary Clinton heavy, so yeah, that's it, fail right off the bat. Elizabeth Warren is really the only person who you can have a decent argument about. Thing is, I honestly didn't like the fact that Elizabeth Warren didn't stand up to Standing Rock. I damn sure didn't like the fact that she didn't say squat during the election when Massachusetts was in play. That comes across to me as overtly political. You have somebody who is supposed to be ideologically similar to you, and you don't stand on principle to support that guy, in the same way you don't stand on principle to support Standing Rock. Some of this may be my own perceptions that are off, because I perceived her as being something else, but maybe my perception was wrong. Maybe she's not what I thought she was. What I'm seeing, however, is somebody acting immensely political on a lot of these issues, more likely than not wanting to get on Hillary Clinton's bad side because she assumed that Hillary Clinton would win that race. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, Hillary Clinton didn't win that race. She didn't win that race. They're parading these guys out to make a determination on who they want to use. And Bernie Sanders, even though they have him parading about the country, is not even on this list. It's not even on this list. Put that list in context. So, no, the party hasn't changed. Yes, Sanders is sheep herding people back into this party. And the moment that they get another corporatist in office, understand their strategy. Their strategy makes sense. Trump is a disaster. Trump is a buffoon. Ultimately, what's going to get Trump out of office is Trump. Meaning, as a Democrat, the only thing you really need to do is just be standing there waiting for when he fails. That's the strategy. Put a little Sanders on you. Get a little bit of that progressive charisma on you. So at the very least, you can stand there, you can change your rhetoric. So when this pendulum swings back, when people are looking for something different than Trump, I will take that spotlight. Now, in taking that spotlight, I haven't changed anything. My rhetoric may have changed. I haven't changed anything. The elements of the party are still the elements of the party. It's a scam. I'm sorry, it's a scam. Call it what it is. Call it what it is. The guy who was cheated, the guy who didn't want to say anything about the cheating, turns around and essentially help people get back into a party by making people believe that that party has changed in some way. The party has not changed. There's been no indication that the party has changed. So, alright guys, it's not that I like saying it. Just gotta be honest about it. I still like the guy, but at this point he's functioning at cross purposes with what I want to accomplish. You have 15 million people that came to their senses saying, yeah, we need something different. This doesn't work. You have an opportunity to start something new and to start something different. The guy who was screaming about a revolution now doesn't want a revolution. And instead, he wants to pull people back into the party that is fundamentally against any sense of a revolution. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to write, feel free to subscribe, feel free to share. And you can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you. Hey guys, I'm looking for what's causing that hiss. So if you're still hearing it, I'm totally sorry. I absolutely apologize. I'm looking into it. I believe it's some kind of feedback in the equipment itself, but I'll find it. Thanks guys.